This is WLAK. You in the
field
with
Track Stars.
Not the Monstars.
The Track Stars.
The Track Stars.
Yeah, back in the field with the Track Stars. Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. This is what they told us not to do, man. We were warned directly not to do this. We got two great minds in the building. Two of the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
We got Swift in the building.
Yeah.
Man, no introduction, man. The dude with the album that changed the whole Christian industry. How you doing, Sho?
Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Yo, man. So the reason we won't bring y'all in here, man, because we know y'all are known for speaking the truth, not being afraid to speak about issues that affect the black community and otherwise. So we've been talking about the Ferguson, Garner, Rice, all this stuff for weeks now. What's y'all take? We can start with one, or you just want to go in? What's the general take first before we get going?
That's a big situation right there. What's the take on the whole overall?
Yeah, I just want to get your general impressions, then I'm going to start asking specific stuff.
Right. So if you would like to start, you want to put the pressure on me.
Put the pressure on you.
Get your tweet fingers ready.
I would just say that I think this is only new news to white America, if anything. Or suburban black people. Like this is not new for people who are close to the heart of the city where racial tension has always been bubbling up, right? Yeah. Especially in your metropolitan areas where most times, and tonight's conversation I'm assuming is based around police brutality. So especially in urban centers where police don't reflect the demographic of the people who live there. That's always been the case. Like I didn't grow up in the hoodie hood, but I grew up in areas where, even if it wasn't the city, it was suburban, and there was a lot of people who used to live in the city. They moved to the suburbs to try to escape that life, and it kind of became the hood suburb. Yeah. And police officers would just harass you for no apparent reason. Like I remember getting pulled over many a times. I was too young to drive, but in the car with people and just waking up in the backseat with a gun pointed to the window. Just simple, not simple stuff. Many different things, and so. This is not new news for anybody who's connected to the inner city, right? So I guess that would be my overall first take, and I'll pass the mic. But that I think if anything, it's an awakening to white America, and this is the amazing thing about it. And I think there needs to be. This is a commentary in itself. Is that it's amazing that the reason why I feel like it's getting as much attention as it has, because this is not just the first time black folks have protested this kind of behavior. It's getting the attention because white liberal folks are starting to jump on board too, because they're like, yo, this is ridiculous. And so because of their presence, if you go to these marches, if you go to most of these protests, it's predominantly white folks out there getting their protest on. And so I think that's a commentary within itself. I really don't know what to make of that, but I do feel like it's the Obama syndrome. Like he got in office because white people voted him in, not because black people voted him in. But I feel like this protest, this whole movement is being pushed and in some ways is being hijacked in a bad way by white liberals, because they're telling a narrative and they're hijacking the narrative for purposes that I don't think are going to benefit black people in the long run.
Wow. Right.
What you think, Swift?
I mean, to be totally honest, man, I'm pissed off. I'm frustrated, man. Like Sho said, man, this isn't something brand new. But I kind of, I take it personal because I went through a situation back in May where I was pulled over and harassed real bad by a police officer. And so, for that moment, you know what I mean? I felt like, dang, if this dude killed me right now, my life won't mean nothing to the system. You know what I mean? Like, this dude can blast me and walk away and eat dinner and not have to worry about jail. And, it's frustrating, and I'm hoping all this protest, this is great, but part of me wonders, is this gonna cause any change, or will we just be protesting the next black man that get shot and killed? You know what I mean? So it is a frustrating point right now, and I try not to always speak and act out of frustration, but that's just where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? Like it's whack to me.
Well, here's my question: Who is our leader? Because I mean, back in the civil rights movement, we had clear leaders, and the leaders had an agenda. They had goals to reach. The thing I felt after the verdict came back, the decision not to indict, it felt like hopeless. Like we ain't got nothing to fight for now. What's the goal? And who's gonna deliver that goal to people? Because I said this last week. The thing about Martin Luther King was it was amazing that he was able to get so many people that were angry to be nonviolent and organized. Yeah. Who's doing that for us now? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we get to that point?
We don't have anybody, and there's a couple of reasons why we don't have anybody. You talk about the civil rights movement. That was the last time black people galvanized together under the auspices of something, right? It was a church. And now, because black people, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, but because black people wanted desegregation, which is definitely a good thing, but there's a lot of consequences of desegregation, right? So now you don't have, like, the black people who don't want to live in the hood and live next door to the drunkard or live in this part of the city. Now they want to live in a different part of the city. Well, when they leave that particular context, their social construct changes, right? And so now what you have is two generations, I think, of people who didn't grow up with the same kind of plight as the individual from Philly grew up with, or the individual from certain parts of California grew up with, because they don't even recognize that kind of worldview or that kind of experience. And so now today what you have is it's like, if you go out and you go to a rally, like, I don't know if y'all went to the Ebenezer joint that was here.
I remember when it was.
So you go there and you hear, the problem is that you hear so many competing agendas, right? So you have political agendas, you have social agendas, you have spiritual agendas, and you're like, which one do I follow? And there's no real connected, galvanizing voice that says, this is what we want, right? And so the problem is not only you have those competing voices within the black context, but then you also have, as I said before, this kind of like the white liberal voice that's trying to direct the narrative in some sort of way. But then you also have social media where everybody is a megaphone just yelling what they want to yell, and so you're like, who do I listen to in this crowded space? And so I don't think I think we're past the days where you're gonna have one voice for a person or for a people group. And I think that may be good, that may be bad, I don't know. So all that to say is that there's not this collective conscience that black people once had is not as strong as it used to be, right? Though we all kind of felt it, no matter where you fall in the political spectrum. When you saw your man Trayvon or Michael Garner or Tamir Rice or any of these individuals die, you felt as a black person like, dang, like
we in danger.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying?
We in danger.
But then the next moment you're like, and this is the reason why I don't understand, like, I just don't, like, protest is something that's very tricky and deeply nuanced, is that I don't know, like, what, and I have a set of things that I would like to see done, but they're so radical that it's like, I just don't see how it's gonna happen in the kind of speed that other people want real turnaround to happen. So to answer your question, I would say there are leaders, there's many. So I don't want to say we don't have one. I will say we have many, sometimes at our detriment. We probably have too many, and there's too many competing voices. Yeah. But there's not this one collective voice like the in the NAACP or the movements that were there during the civil rights era, where there was like, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is the agenda. Okay.
Now I want to get your responses to some of the other side of the coin, because I've been following a lot of social media with people posting stuff, and then I'm hearing the rebuttal, from the other side. And we may get specific case by case too, because I want to make sure that thought is at least heard so we can address it. A lot of people feeling like Mike Brown, if you attack a cop, there's no guarantee your life is going to be spared in that situation. The responsibility is on Mike Brown. How would you respond to that?
Okay, well, first of all, I would like to first say we don't have 100% solid proof that he attacked the cop.
Yeah, okay.
That's number one. Number two, like, I feel like if this man was unarmed, right, like, of course, in the heat of the moment, you can't always use rationale, but like, if you're gonna approach this dude, and if it was any type of threat, backup should have been called. So what are you doing confronting that man one-on-one? Like, if he attacks you, I don't know. Like, I grew up in the hood. I did a lot of grimy things, and I don't fear no man. But we ain't gonna attack a cop for no reason.
Yeah.
That's just dumb.
Yeah.
That's just
That's
like,
what sounded weird.
I'm like, what are you on? You know what I mean? So first of all,
And whatever
we don't know
he
if
didn't get it
they're
from no cigarillos.
yeah. And I'm like, I can't confidently say he did attack the officer. I can't confidently say he didn't attack the officer. But if he did attack the officer, what was doing to provoke him to do that? Like, he's just gonna see you and then run after you? Like,
Yeah.
that just don't make no sense. You know what I mean?
And you
So
letting off shots in this man, and he comes
10 shots.
That's
10?
Don't sound right. That sounds like
10?
somebody who's on acid or PCP.
10
And you ain't find out in the
Bad
system.
sauce.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, I mean, that's excessive.
Yeah.
At the very least, that's excessive force.
Yeah.
Like 10 shots in that man, what were you thinking? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, so I like obviously it wasn't as black and white as the Eric Garner situation. The
Yeah.
Eric Garner situation was caught on camera.
Yeah.
And like, but the Mike Brown
But
situation,
they still don't like. That's still not good enough.
It didn't-
Like,
Right, it's still
they'll,
not.
they'll, he shouldn't be outside selling tax
Lucy's. Dude was selling Lucy's. And so, like, here's the bottom line is, it will always be the black man's fault that he's dead.
Yeah.
That's it. Yo, so what? This dude, like, and I sent out a tweet the other day about Akai, the young man in New York that was walking down the staircase and got blasted and got killed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I put out a tweet saying, like, I wonder how they're gonna try to switch this around and make it his fault that he died.
Of course, yeah.
And it's like, at the end of the day, like, if you're black, you're guilty, point blank.
I got to comment on that as well. What you have, man? Oh, okay. So here's the angle I thought of, and I think the reason why there's a disconnect and why people are not understanding on the other side is they're like, how come? What about the police officer? That's their job. No respect is being paid. I think the reason why this is an issue is because when we hear about these stories about, oh, Mike Brown may have attacked a cop or not, we see this person as family. If you can look at a person and you don't see them as family, you don't see them as the dude down the street the way we would, we don't hear the, oh, he did this, or he was selling loose cigarettes, or he robbed a cigarello as reason to be killed. But they see it as, oh, this is a thug. Why are you siding with the thug? We see this guy as a possible family member. This is somebody we may have known. And I just think it's a different attitude towards the victim.
That's part of the reason why I think, you know, like Sho was saying earlier, and I was listening to Chubb Rock talk on the radio, and he said the same thing. Like, yo, in these neighborhoods, you need to have cops that look like the people that live there. At the end of the day, like, a black cop will probably be able to decipher better the intentions of somebody else.
Or just a
Like,
well-trained
and-
cop.
yeah,
Like
and
somebody
like-
who really cares about the community and who's doing work in the community. I
That
know white
lives
dudes who
there.
do that
Right.
well. I know black cops who are terrible, like, and who harass and
I know a
do
few
ridiculous
too.
stuff,
Yeah.
right? But it's just those dudes who actually have an interest for the community. You got a white cop who goes to our church and who has totally polarizing views on this whole situation than I do. But the reality is he'll say, man, look, I'm trying to love on these dudes. He's like,
Yeah.
90% of the dudes I arrest are black guys. But I try to have conversations with them. I'm trying to get, and I feel like he genuinely, like, that's really him. Right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like he really, but I do also realize you still come from a different context and you understand things differently, right? So yeah, I think there's a fundamental flaw in how people see black people. The problem is, and I think this is a struggle. We all will say that, especially Christians, and this is most of the quarrel that I have is with Christians who seem to have some sort of disconnect in this community, this talk, is that we just don't see everybody in the image of God. Like, and the problem is that, as he said, the fault is always going to be on the black dude. It's like, we never give black people the benefit of the doubt. Like, there's always gonna, like, we don't have the privilege or the benefit to be able to speak freely to a police officer. We don't have those liberties like white people do. And so we always have to be the most humble, the most submissive, the most cordial, the most cooperative people when it comes to the relationships with the police. Though I understand that, but that's a problem, right?
Okay, you bringing up something that I'm concerned about. I've been seeing a lot of camera phone videos from black people. Yo, I ain't doing nothing, officer. Why I gotta do that, officer? Is that reaction to this situation gonna cause more problems? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's, to me, it's like, yes, we do have to be more cordial. We gotta be, yes sir, yes sir. I'm seeing the, yo, screw them then attitude. Is that a good reaction? It's understandable.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's just. I think it's going to intensify the situation. I think it popped off before. I think cell phones have changed the way we do life in general. Like, it's just. It is. I think it's the epitome of it is when you see delivered. Oh boy, like you can't even be in church no more and have a. Look, I don't know if that was authentic or a real moment. But you can't even be in church and testify about a real thing that happened to you without it going viral. And like now you like, dag, like can I even share my intimate moments with the Lord that I've had publicly without it being viral, right? So that's that. So now that's traumatizing to me. So if I get up somewhere and I'm like, yo man, like I just want to confess, and I'm like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be confessing here.
Especially not you.
This is gonna be on trackstar.com. So it's I think cell phones has changed the dynamic in how we see the world in general. I feel like police officers have to police different. Like, you know, as you everything evolves except for our education system, right? But everything else evolves because of technology. And so because of technology, people say, all right, well, look, this is how we have to do things differently. And I think because of technology, people have to police different. And it's not illegal. You can film. They may be trying to stop it in certain states, but it's not illegal to film police officers. And so therefore, I don't think it's a problem. And like I said, this is not a new phenomenon in the black community. People, though I think it could be problematic. Black people have always had some sort of tension with police officers because of the way that they police our communities. I don't know exactly where you guys live, but like if you live like in East Point or in the West End, you could be driving down the street on a random late Friday night or a Saturday night, and then there's a police blockade, random police blockade, checking licenses and cars and stuff like that. Like, why? Why have you chose this neighborhood of all the neighborhoods? Because when I'm in Alpharetta late on a Friday night, I don't see near police officers anywhere, right? So this is a police state, and they do this in areas and communities where they know they can get away with it. And I think black communities have to start speaking up and taking more ownership of their community and saying, look, we're not gonna stand for this. When you do a good job, yes, we'll applaud you and we'll thank you for the job you're doing, but this is ridiculous. You are lording over people and taking advantage of folks. And I know Atlanta has this history with the Red Dogs. Was it Red Dirty Dogs? I'm a little new to the situation. And where they just kick doors down and just run in and arrest folks, and now cats got felonies. Now they can't vote. Now they can't get jobs. And they're talking about the black community has a problem. This is something that our nation has created. Problem. Right, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's not just black people are making these things up. So if you're arresting people, putting felonies on these folks for minimal, for possessing marijuana, things that white kids do in the suburbs and they don't go to jail and get felonies for, now you're messing up somebody's livelihood, right? And so now this brother can't even rent a house. This dude can't even get a proper job. And so this is an epidemic that is happening in our country that we have to address, not just from put cameras on a police officer, stuff that we have to address. And the one thing I do respect about Eric Holder is at least he's trying to remove these mandatory minimums for drug sentencing, these police profiling, and things like that, because these are the things that are crippling our communities. But your Fox News and conservative media don't want to go that far. They just want to say stop having babies out of wedlock, stop having abortions. And as I said before the show started, the problem that I have a lot with Christianity is that it's been hijacked to have to be tied to a political point of view now. Like, so if I'm a Christian, that means I have to have conservative Republican views. I may be Republican, I may be conservative in some perspectives, but the reality is I'm a dynamic person, and we should allow everybody to be dynamic and fluid. That, look, I rock with this. Like, yeah, I don't think abortion is a cool thing, but guess what? I also feel like there's some sort of social reform that needs to happen, and just because welfare may not be, look. So anyway,
so I got a question for you. It's a two-part question. One is, how worse does it have to get before it gets better? And I say this because they painted Trayvon Martin as a thug. And one of the things that bothered me about the Trayvon situation was that he was put on trial for having all these things about him when he was minding his own business. You know, I feel like George Zimmerman should have approached him and said who he was and what he was doing. The question is, Jordan Davis was painted as a thug. Eric Brown. Michael Brown. So the other question is, how worse does it have to get before it gets better? Is it going to be taking out a Christian man without a record, without any kind of?
That's not possible, bro. It's the thing.
It might not get better. Like, I hate to say that, but the reality is, like, black people, at least in the eyes of the system, are not valued equally. It's just not. Like, even though they've, like, what trips me out is, like, you know, once upon a time, we weren't even valued as a full person. We were, 3/5 of a man? Mm-hmm. And so, like, that hasn't changed. It's changed on paper. So now they say, all right, we'll give you some liberties. We'll let you be a mayor. We'll even let you be a president. But at the end of the day, like, I think that we see, like, progression like that, and we think, oh my God, we're equal. We're here. But in all actuality, we're not. Like, unless we get viewed as equal people, man, like, we will not be treated any differently.
The world is, bro. So this is the thing, and I'm gonna steal my man Adon. He made a statement the other day that I thought was very powerful. He made a statement that he rarely uses the word racism, and he uses white supremacy. And the reason why I think that's brilliant is because racism is a fluid thing, and it disguises itself in many different forms, shapes, and institutions. And the thing about America is that it's very easy for an individual not to be racist. Like, I don't think a lot of white people are racist, right? But they benefit in ways that are unfathomable because of their privilege and their white supremacy. And it's even affected the way that black people act, right? So, for example, if I go to a black neighborhood and there's a restaurant, 2 restaurants right next door to each other, one's a black-owned restaurant and one's a white-owned restaurant. Inherently in us, because we have this white supremacy attitude that everything white is better, you tend to think, like, I'm gonna get better service at this white restaurant. I'm gonna probably get better food here. I probably, just whatever, fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. And we already demonize the black owned establishment because without even testing the waters per se or whatnot. Right. I think what's happened is America has been built on these institutions. These institutions have been built on this idea of white supremacy, and it's affected so much of the fabric that you can't just undo it, right? Yeah. So you just can't undo it like overnight. It almost has to be blown up, right? And so the radical perspective that I have is, it seems like there's 2 options, right? Yeah. There's the option that we've been trying for so long, which is inclusion. Say, hey man, just let us in the party. Just let us in. Just please let us in.
Wow.
Or it's like, you know what? We don't care anymore. Let's create our own. Let's live in our own communities.
Yeah, Marcus Garvey.
Right, yeah. So you got the Garveys, you got black nationalism, and when you say that kind of stuff, it's scary, and people are like, oh, show you preaching now, or they preaching.
It's reality though.
But this is the thing. When Asian communities do it, when Arabic communities do it, when Korean communities do it, then nobody says it's a problem, right? Yeah. Because black people have always been meant to be subservient and to be assimilated into American culture, rather than to say, you know what, let's kind of create our own. And historically, this is gonna rock some. When we've tried to exclude ourselves, thank you, stuff has got burned down and blown up. Yeah. So it's kind of like, yo, what's our options, right? What are our options? And so the problem is that I think too many people, and this is just my own personal view, and I may change this next month, I don't know. Too many people want to assimilate into culture. My thing is, and people could take this out of, part of the reason why I did the music that I did and kind of started my own little particular situation is because I felt sick of trying to include myself in a particular direction of music that I was like, they just want me to dance, like for lack of a better word, like to
Excuse me for not being
eloquent. You know what I'm saying? But it's for me, it's like if I can't talk about the things that are close to my heart on this stage and not be ostracized for it, then this is a problem for me. This is a problem, and so therefore, I gotta do something different, right? Yeah. And so that's not to say. I hope people don't read into that more than what they, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying.
They will, though. They will.
Yeah. Right. That's my thing, but that's not my concern anymore. So what I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is this. Is the reality is that I am done trying to play the game the way that people have told me to play the game.
Yeah.
I realize that you need all people, and this is not like one race. I'm not preaching culture supremacy or anything like that. What I'm saying is there's a reality that the people who need the most attention right now that I believe are people who live in these heartbroken communities, and I think we are alienating them, we are ignoring them because we want to sit at the table of somebody who's not including us in the conversation.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. I have a question. You said something about the liberals taking over the marches, and you're seeing that. What if somebody's like listening is like, well, ain't that good? That's a good thing. We have all races out there, so it looks like we're unified.
No, that is a good thing.
Versus like it's just only a black thing. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not saying the racial dynamic is not my at all. Like that's not my bent. What I'm talking about is how it's people take. So like 2 years ago was the first time I ever went to the Martin Luther King parade march in Atlanta. And it was the most disgusting thing I've ever witnessed in my life. Mainly because what I saw was not something to celebrate the life of a man who did wonderful things. What I saw was a whole bunch of people trying to hijack the moment for their own agenda. Right? So you had all these different organizations, and it was just like, what's happening here? This is a circus. Yeah. Like I was sitting there, I was like, this is ridiculous, right? And it got to the point where it was like obnoxious and uncomfortable, and I was just like, I can't even be here. But what I'm saying is, though, I think it's good. I think the racial diversity is beautiful. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think that's God's will for the kingdom. Yeah. But what I'm not saying is, or what I am saying is better yet, is that it's very easy to take the plight of someone, the pain of someone, and try to, I don't know, I'm not going to say monetize it, but I do feel like that's happening to some degree. You got cats who are selling I Can't Breathe shirts, trying to make $1.
Who got that in, man? Because whoever made that one, they
cake it. They cake it right now. I hope it's somebody that's connected to the Garner family so that they can help support that man's family or something like that.
Exactly.
But yeah, so you got people who want to they want to benefit off of you got social media activists who take the moments and try to build careers off this stuff. And
so you don't like the money changers in the temple atmosphere?
No, I don't. I think it's part of it's natural though, but like it's because people, and I'm not saying none of these folks are like about that life, but what I'm saying is there comes a time where like you're Simon the Sorcerer and you see authentically, you're like, dang, like this is something real. Yeah. But then once you get in it, you're like, yo, check this out. How much can I pay you to kind of get your skills, right? And he's like, well, I hope that you and your money perish in hell. Oh. Because I think that's what's happening. I think you see a lot of what's happening is people are taking the pain and the real circumstances and they're trying to. So you got people who protest and who out there who have no real connection to the cause, but they're intentionally trying to incite things, right? Or you have, and this goes for both black and white, right?
Yeah.
And so, but you also have people who are trying to take these moments and push whatever. Like I saw in one rally I was attending, like they were trying to tie the Garner and Brown situation with homosexuality, homosexual rights, and I'm just like, that's not what we're here for right now. So what I'm saying is like, you can see how consistently they're trying to take control over. Say, while we're at it, ladies and gentlemen, while we're here, while I got everybody's attention, my baby needs some new shoes, kind of situation. You know what I
mean? You see that happen a lot, man, with these situations. Like, I've heard somebody came out with a statement, a while ago, was like, gay is the new black. And I'm just like, I was like, you gotta be crazy. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like, just like Sho was saying, like, if this is an epidemic, this is a serious situation, and you know, because it's getting a lot of publicity, the last thing I want to see is attention being diverted away from, you know, the epidemic at hand that we're talking about. You know what I mean? But yet, people using that to, you know, promote their stuff. And like, I'd even say, like, there's a lot of artists that like use moments like these and like, let me do a song about it, put it on iTunes. You know what I mean? Like, you can be the center of attention, and it's like, you don't have a heart for this, you don't talk about this any other time, but now that somebody got shot and it's all over CNN, now you got to talk about it. And it's just like, yo, well, I think one of the things I want to see, even in our own community, is people be adamant about this stuff when there is no Trayvon Martin.
Come on,
like, you know what I mean? Like, when there is no Eric Garner, when the protest is going and a black person ain't get assassinated by a cop in 6 months, is somebody still talking about it? And so that's like,
or at least when it's not public.
Yeah, when it's not publicized, like,
something like that.
That's one thing I want to see is people stand up and fight against injustice and social injustice, like when it's not being blown up. You know what I mean? Like,
that's real,
because it still happens.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, there's cops no matter what race it is. You know what I mean? There's cops of all races that abuse their power.
Yeah.
And when is that spoken about, like, outside of these major situations?
Now, you're good. I mean, but y'all are the journalists on the street, so I think people trust what y'all say, and y'all have the power to bring this stuff back up when it dies down. You know what I'm saying? So we appreciate y'all coming. Yeah, I know.
And we do, real talk.
And we appreciate y'all coming through and sharing about this.
Hey, we gonna raise support for these brothers to get an air conditioner up in this mother. So
yeah,
it's too many black people in the same room. Yeah, man. So
sauna in Harlem.
Want to lose weight? Come to the track stuff. All right, man. Appreciate y'all coming through,
homie.
man.
Watch your mouth, homie. Yo, one time for the fat people. We in the endangered species out there.
Y'all crazy, man. Yo, thank you, man. You in the field.
We're not crazy,
with the track
we
stars. Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.
I love you. Cop all my albums.